Hey, this is Pops, and I wanted to just slide this in. It's just a high recommend. I really should have done this sooner. I just hadn't gotten around to it. And this is something that was shared with me, and I'm just been blown away at how good it is. I'm not going to share very much. I'm only going to really kind of go through pieces of issue number one. This is the Teenage Ninja Turtles Last Ronin. It's a couple years old now. But the main thing I wanted to bring this up, make sure I had this documented, was the fact that they're carrying on the story. There's now a part two. And what I'm really hoping here, and I don't know exactly what their plan is with Ninja Turtles, is they kind of take a page out of Hellboy and do these standalone stories. They can use their entire timeline. They can, definitely have different adventures and capture different thing with some of these really kind of a rogue gallery of characters that the Ninja Turtles are famous for. And since there's so much nostalgia love with the Ninja Turtles, this book really does capture a way of having a dystopic future for them, as well as also leave the door open to fill in some other gaps. So the story opens in a very mysterious way. And I know if you Google this or you are not in a bubble, you probably already know which turtle this is. You probably know some of the spoilers, but I'm going to treat it as though you don't. Fair enough? Black mask, multiple different types of weapons. You see staff, you see swords, you see sai, you see everything, right? Going on this mission, treated as a suicide mission, moving through sludge to get to this sort of like other city. And basically there's like the below the ground, above the ground, isolated Manhattan-esque area that it's going into. And it's on this basically a lot of like turtle stuff. I'm not human. And I've got plenty of my own nasty. He's throwing ninja stars. It's to sneak into this place, right? And I will say all of this was fun. It reads very, very fast. Obviously, there's use of different weapons, different things like that. And then you have sort of like, what is the world like? And you have different layers of different lights, almost like a caste system, if you will. And you have this sort of silhouette of other turtles in the background. And we kind of get some of this kind of plays out. And this is what's interesting is like who is who, what is actually happening. All of this is a great way to introduce us to this world. And we get this character. Now, this character is called Jones. We don't totally understand who she is. Obviously, Casey Jones is the famous character from the original Ninja Turtles. So we're not quite sure of all the dynamics here. And of course, then, how you have this sort of like, how is he going to get into there? That they're already trying to pick up on him and that kind of thing. And it's like an attack plan that he has, and you're watching this thing where he grabs this stick of dynamite, riding this motorcycle, leaps off the dynamite, sticking that in it. It hits a tanker, causes this massive explosion, sort of like like a Kurt Russell Escape from New York, right? Ironically, like a Manhattan, right? And he gets himself inside, and then boom, down a vent, down a hole, down a manhole, right? And the nose knows the truth, right? You can take the turtle out of the sewer, but you can't take the sewer out of the turtle. Oh wait, I got that backwards. You can take the turtle out of the sewer, but you can't take the sewer out of the turtle. Okay. And so what does that even mean? The voice says. Means no matter what's changed, this is still our home turf. And he's on the inside, right? And you have all sorts of robots, these like robot android things, robocops, he calls them. And he just basically he's just cutting things down. There's a surveillance. He's trying to work his way along to get through to this confrontation, right? And it's just not playing out the way he thinks. He's on the run, but he's able to do things that everyone else isn't able to do. Like it's one thing to have control of all these other humans, but he's a Ninja Turtle, right? So he's so trained and knowledgeable on how he does everything. Again, he's using different weapons in different ways. It is a total great blast of adventure that you kind of get sucked right into. And then, of course, you have flying cars like Back to the Future 2 style, and all this is moving along very, very rapidly before you get to this other character who he's trying to get to confront. That would be Oroku Horoto, right? And there's the reference to the middle district, right? That's on the street where we were before. He's high above in this sort of sky rise, and you have sort of like this information that's coming. He basically um, puts forth the mandate to go ahead and use execution, like permission to kill, right? So now things ramp up. I know that's not enough, right? And it's just him. He's going through. He's being, stealth mode, doing this, doing that. And look at this situation, nice landscape, all this different tech that looks like a lot of different movies and shows, and some elements that tie back to turtles and some that don't. And you have him like this massive figure. He's so much bigger and talented and skilled, just bringing chaos to all this. He's blowing stuff up. And yeah, he's just cutting through these robots. Sort of look at that. It's just so cool. So much fun. Ninja Turtle fun, man. I really enjoyed all of this. It read really, really fast. And of course, once you get through, it's just pages and pages of adventure and chaos. And I will say I admitted like the reference. So for if you are a fan, right, it says activate the Stockman tech. I want the monster dead. And it's like little things. And he's basically like shouting at the camera, you face me, you coward. Hiroto is, not being honorable by facing him anime, using these robots and all this other tech and things like that. And he is at least getting overwhelmed by all of it before he makes a mistake, kind of falls out a window and comes slamming down onto the ground. And blood's pouring out of his mouth. He's really struggling, right? And they're basically threatening everyone. Like they're literally threatening lethal force also against everyone else who's helping him, right? And they calls all foot units. The terrorist is still alive. So these are technically the foot soldiers of this current world. And of course, you have Jones here creating some diversions and things like that as she follows the blood trail down the sewer. And then, of course, Hiroto's losing his mind. You have a little reference to the mom that's in that case. And of course, he's a mess, right? He's there and he is taking off some of his garb and unpacking, spitting up blood. He lays everything out. So now you have everything. You have a staff, you have nunchucks, the sai, the broken sword, and he has a handful of the masks and he lays them out over them as well. So all four of them. So you're like, well, is he? So I miss my brother so much. He's like, well, is he the fifth turtle? Like, who is he supposed to be? Right. And then he goes, I miss my father. I want to make him proud. And you have that as sort of everything coming here. Like the mission is not over. He's like, I failed, forgive me. But he's still bleeding. And then right then is when Casey shows up and sees him. And he's barely alive and he passes out. That's kind of where I'm going to stop you so you don't see kind of how it plays out. Because he has like a flashback sequence, which I liked. Let me just share that back. Let me just share that back so you can see the art. This is one of the art examples, which reminds me of some of the kind of like the middle of the road book, not the OG, but there's a little bit of a flashback sequence here because that's what they do really, really well is they tie current and former all together because when the turtle wakes up, there's a big surprise about who is there. And then of course, ultimately who he is. And that's important to move forward in the story. And like I said, I didn't want this to be a major spoiler for you. There is a director's cut as well, which I really enjoy because you definitely get a lot of the storyboards and you get a lot of all that kind of stuff, which I think is great. The story does a great job. I'm kind of going over to another issue because I wanted to show you how they also deal with filling in some of the other gaps in the story on the flashback sequences so that you can kind of have a good feel for so they flash back to everything. They flash back to April and Casey and Splinter, and they tie up. No, this is an alternate future or not, or how they want to tie all of their turtle lore together. It really doesn't matter. This can stand on its own or be part of something bigger and better and greater. It really doesn't matter too much. The action never really stops. It's just it's off the chart. Battle scenes with different characters, and over time what everything is and how everything plays out, I think is just brilliant. It's one of the best miniseries I've read of the modern books in the modern era. And I hope that if you haven't gotten a copy, you can. And thanks again to Viet who loaned me his. This is what I wanted to share with you guys. I had to find it. Just a little bit of the flashbacks of how they tie in the complete OG of turtle stuff with that black and white art, the original look of how it was. Like if you know the original Turtles work way back when Eastman and Laird started, this is what it looked like. So they tie some of that in here, and you get that as well as far as the story goes, and filling in some of the gaps and what was supposed to happen, and how it came to be. Just the highest of recommends, especially if you're a fan of the Turtles. It really, really is. So I wanted to get this out there. I hope you guys enjoy it. I will say the ending may not be the thing that I would have hoped it would be. I would have expected something a little bit different, but I'm also not going to complain. And I'm eager to see how they pick the ball up for a second part, because it can seem woke in some ways, like there can be some elements, but I don't really feel that way. It seems like everything is pretty logical. Like this would make sense on how it kind of at least moves forward. But I will say I need some other context on how you want to do a part two. I need something else. I need a little bit more to go on. So, all right. So that's my take on it. I'm hopefully you've tell me what you guys think. This has been around for a couple of years. It's taken me a while to get my hands on it. Really looking forward to get myself I want like a director's cut version, to be honest. I really want a nice version. So that's my thoughts on it. I'm Pops.
Yeah. Right. And I'm